Right, here we are, class number 15. 15? It's mad, isn't it? Right, so I'm going to start lying down as most of the time, not always, but most of the time. So do your quick check, make sure you've got enough space, get your mat, get your towel, get your water, make sure you're drinking enough at the moment, it's really hot, so get your water, so you might need to stop me now and go and get some water, muttering about being nagged. Right, once you've got your water, you might want your towel, your, not to mop the water up, to lie on, cushion underneath your head. Remember, if you've got a block, you might want to do that because we're going to do a bit of seated work today. So we're going to start lying down and then we'll move through the paces. As always, I can't see you. Some of you are sending me feedback about the exercises you're liking or not liking, which is good, but I can't see you. So I do my best to talk through the exercise and where I'm looking for you to feel it. But if in doubt, go for the easier options. I'll always start with the easier options and build up. So go back to the easier options if you've tried the harder one and it's not for you, or look at it and think, no, not for me today. Be sensible. Right, so that's the nagging done. We'll start the work now. We'll start nagging part 2. So lying down, relax the shoulders, legs bent or straight, whatever suits your back, and give yourself a little bit of time. Breathe. Just do a quick scan around the body, looking for any muscles that feel a little bit tight and you might need to fidget a bit, or any joints that don't quite feel in the right position. Get yourself comfortable. A little bit of reminder about the breathing while we're lying here, giving our bodies a chance to relax. So you just rest your hands just around your ribs and your middle fingers just touch. Pull your belly in a little bit and you're going to keep those abdominals engaged. And then you're going to breathe in and out. And it's called, depending on how old you are, it's either called thoracic breathing. When I learned Pilates, it was thoracic breathing. Apparently it's now lateral breathing, it's the same thing. All we want you to do is breathe into the ribcage section, keeping the abdominals tight. Breathing in, ribs widen, lungs inflate. Breathe out, lungs deflate, ribs contract. So you're able to get quite a deep breath in and keep the abdominals tight. So it's useful, particularly when we're doing the strength moves where you're holding there a little bit and you still need to breathe. Alright, so I'm going to rely on you to keep breathing for the hour. I will remind you every now and then. Again, usually on the strength moves where you tend to hold your breath, but if I haven't told you to breathe, just keep doing it. I'm in one of them moods today, sorry. So arms down by your sides, relax the neck, turn your head from side to side. Relaxing any tension in the face, neck and shoulders, especially across around the neck. It has to get very tight. And with all these moves, they start off a bit creaky, not great amount of movement, and then as you start to loosen, the creaking reduces and the movement increases. So you can start to go a little bit further, and then you can start to hold that stretch position a little bit. So maybe just a breath in and out, maybe 2, just to get that stretch down the side of the neck, sinking the opposite shoulder down into the floor. Sinking the shoulder down to enjoy that stretch in the neck. Then for across the neck and shoulders, hands underneath the head. Remember, your alternative for this one is to just lie with your arms out to the side, sort of like in a cross shape, if you've got any injuries in the shoulder that we don't want to make worse. Otherwise, hands underneath the head, elbows just press gently against the side of your head, or arms do rather, not elbows, and then you take the elbows out to the floor, squeezing the shoulder blades together. So drawing in and out, and just mobilising this shoulder joint. Don't worry if your elbow doesn't go all the way to the floor. You might find one does or one doesn't. We're not symmetrical. But don't worry about that. I just want you to feel that you can feel the shoulder blades start to move across your back. If you do overwork it, all you'll end up doing is working into the sort of thoracic spine and pushing your rib cage up, which isn't what we're looking for. So keep the rib cage comfortably flat and work into the shoulders. And again, the movement starts to feel a little bit less creaky, a little bit easier, starts to get a little bit bigger. And then you can hold that position, so take your elbows out as far as they go. And do that thoracic or lateral breathing. So as when your elbows are out, breathe in, widen the rib cage, and breathe out. And then bring them back in again. So you can practice your breathing and your chest stretches all at the same time. We're going to miss ourselves coming back in a minute. Hopefully that's starting to feel a little bit looser. But as I say, with all these moves, you can always carry on. You always stop the vid and do a few more. You're not allowed to fast forward me, remember, on the difficult bits. But if you find an exercise that you need more reps, you just stop the vid and do more of them. Then onto the middle. So arms out to the side, knees and feet together and twist. Take the legs over to one side. Turn your head in the opposite direction if you want to. Try and stack the feet because you're trying to get that stretch and bring that hip over. And again, sinking the opposite shoulder down. Sorry, Benny, he's getting annoyed with me again, I'm talking. It's his nap time. It's very difficult to slot in around a greyhound's nap time. You might need to let this top leg lift, or remember, cushion between the knees if you need to stabilise that hip a little bit more. And then I'm just going to change it slightly. Hip replacements, stay with this, or take the top leg out. Otherwise, we're just going to do a bit different. Just going to cross one leg over the other. With attitude, remember. Okay. And then you take the leg across, the legs across. And you just keep that top leg on the top for a few reps. Put that leg on the top for a few reps. And then change, put the other leg on the top for a few reps. And it just gets a little bit more rotation into the hip. Check the feet are rocking from side to side, not just flat down to the floor, because that might twist into your knee. And again, you can hold that stretch if you get to that point where you feel that your body's ready for that. That disgusting licking noise that you might hear is Benny doing his daily ablutions. Just in case you wondered if Chris was having a wash in the background. Oh, I've had to shut up today, haven't I? Just get on with my exercises. Right, then into the hips. So have the feet, again, hip replacements, stay with the twist, just keeping that hip supported, keeping the knees together, but the rest of you, knees apart, feet apart, and a little rotation. Letting the feet rock from side to side. It just gets a little bit deeper into that rotation in the hip joint. Stay in that position for as long as it feels comfortable for you. Don't force the knee down, you don't need to, just let the leg go quite heavy. Then we'll get into the lower back. So remember, you've got two options with this. You can do the lower back stretches with your feet on the floor, or you can do them with your feet off the floor. Entirely up to you. If you feel that you're putting too much weight in that pelvis with your feet off the floor, then have them down on the floor. And for that version, you're just letting the pelvis rock, just forward and back, not forcing it, just moving up and down the spine. So the hips and ribs are coming together and then moving away from each other. So stay with that, just to get some ability. Use the abdominals to pull the pelvis sort of back. So the front abdominals contract and that pulls the pelvis back. and then you stretch and push the pelvis forward. Your other option is to do it with your feet off the floor. Mechanically it's a bit easier, but you don't want to put any pressure in the back, so if it's not for you, don't do this option. But then you rock the knees in and out. Supporting just at the back of the knees rather than yanking the legs. So you're doing the same move. You're bringing the hips towards the ribs, using your abdominals, not your arms. So you're squeezing those abdominals up, and then you're stretching abdominals as the knees move away. Holding the legs is quite useful because you're not likely to take the knees too far and put too much pressure in the lower back. You can only go arm's length. And just getting that pelvis rocking forward and back a little bit. And then we're going to go around in a circle. So start with the feet on the floor, and you're going to kind of do a hula hoop move. So you're circling around the pelvis, trying to not let the knees waggle around too much. So you're bringing the hips towards the ribs as you rotate round. So you're massaging your spine into the floor, not mashing it into the floor, massaging it. Take it steady. So you can stay with this option, or again, feet off the floor. Mechanically it's easier because your legs help you. But again, holding them so you're not putting too much pressure in the back. If you can do it without holding, it becomes more strength work. The only thing you've got to watch is that you don't let the knees go too far away. You only want really knee fold on a little bit past that. Because the aim of this move is not really about strength. It's about mobilising the spine just to put everything in its best position. So you're rolling around, getting rid of those knots. Forgot to do our arm circles, didn't I? Told you I was in one of them minutes today, but I'll put it in a sec. Alright, put your feet down, we'll do some hips. So set your pelvis now, so your weight's almost at the bottom of the spine but not quite. Squeeze the centre to keep it tight, and then you slide your foot along the floor. Slide it back in. So we're just starting to stretch out the hip a little bit, stretch out the knee and the ankle. Trying to not wobble from side to side. So stick your backside down to the floor and keep it there. So zipped up a little bit, squeezed in at the centre, slide in the foot. Add a little ankle rotation on at the end. Start to get the lower leg muscles warmed up and working. And again, any issues with the lower back where this feels the right amount of work for you, then stay with this. Otherwise, bring the leg up and kick upwards and down. Kick upwards. You can tilt the pelvis back a little bit if you want to. Better that than just kicking forward, because you're not really stretching the legs very much. You want to be feeling this on the back of the thigh. Doesn't matter if it doesn't straighten, and put the hand at the back of the leg just to support the weight, so the leg can sit against the hand if you want to. Add your ankle circle on if you want at the end. Doesn't have to straighten, we're just stretching hamstrings. Most of us don't get the leg fully straight. It doesn't matter, as long as you're feeling your stretch, the back of your leg. The more reps you do, the more flexibility you get. Check the other leg. Sometimes we're so determined to get this leg straight, we push the other leg, get the backside off the floor. It's not that. The other leg is supporting. And then you can bring both feet off the floor if you want. You might want to bring them a little bit closer so your pelvis tilts back slightly, just for support. And then you kick the legs up. Start one at a time. Do both at a time when you're ready. Relax the shoulders. My knees are a bit creaky today. I've set myself a mad challenge for June. I was getting a bit, what am I going to do? So my June challenge is I've got a stationary bike upstairs. So my mad challenge is, for June, I'm going to cycle on my bike upstairs 30 miles a day for 30 days. I've done 3 days. This is my 4th day. So I was too impatient to wait for the 1st of June. I thought if I wait for the 1st of June, I'm going to talk myself out of it. So I started Saturday. So my knees are a bit creaky. good though. Alright, these arms. So, hand on your shoulder, circle your elbow around. And circle it around the other way. And then the other one, circle it round. And circle it round. So you might have already done these, you might have automatically gone into your arm circles when you did your head, you see. And then make it nice big circles if your shoulders let you. You can alternate them. A little black stroke move, kind of feels quite nice, just loosen into those shoulders a little bit more. And you can do both together if you want to. Again, try and keep the rib cage down, so you're really getting into these shoulders. Alright, that's that ticked off. So, we're going to do our supine lying down work as our first bit of main work today, but you might want to sit up and grab yourself a drink first. That's the warm-up done. Now we're going to move into the main phase. So we'll start lying down. Block, as always, if you're finding your neck's a bit tight after you warm up still, you might want to put something underneath your head. As with all of them, I'll build up. You come with me to the right level for you. So relax the shoulders, arms down by your side. Set the spine. Shoulders back and down, and feel both shoulders about level. Neck nice and long, so that's where your cushion under your head might be needed. Rib cage flat. By that I mean you're not forcing it up to the ceiling. Pelvis neutral, so you're not tilted forward, you're not tilted back, you're somewhere in the middle. Lying on your pelvis. Abdominals pulled in to support that position. I've got quite an arch in my back. You might be flatter to the floor than me. Knees about hip distance apart, toes facing forwards. Then we're going to zip up, lengthen along our mat as if we're lying on this magic carpet. We're floating through the air. And we're going to see if we can just take one foot just off the floor. Not a long way. And down, and the other foot. And what we're looking for on this move is that our pressure points, where we touch the mat, stays exactly the same. So it's not about a load of leg work. It's about getting this stability in the torso before we move on to harder work. Because if we haven't got that, the rest of it will be a bit of a waste of time. So we're just checking that we've zipped up enough, we've drawn the pelvic floor up enough, we've cinched the waist in enough, we've opened the chest enough that we can stay really still on this floor, even though we're moving from foot to foot. And you might want to stay with this today. You might think, actually, I'm a bit tight in the hips today, I'm going to stay on this. Great, you've decided what's right for you. If you want knee folds, level 1, we just keep lifting the leg till about 90 degrees. Not too far away that you feel the weight of the leg in your lower back, but not too close where you could keep it there all day. So it's about 90 degrees. Hold it for about 5 seconds. Thoracic lateral breathing. Then put the foot down. We've still got to keep our weight level, so we're not just letting our body collapse onto this mat. Holding it level as the other leg comes up. So it's about being able to hold this torso stable as the leg travels. So the slower you do these moves, the more you're aware of the rest of your body. So stay in single knee folds. Stay in single knee folds if you've got any issues with your lower back, or if you're later on pregnancy. What we don't want to do is force the abdominals out, because we're using the lower back and the hips to hold us then. We're not using the core. So if you do feel like you're kind of forcing the move, stay on this level. Otherwise, level 2, bring the knee in a little bit closer if you need to reduce the curve in your back. Float the other leg up. And it should feel like it's floating. Hold it for your breath from your rib cage. One at a time, put your feet back. It should look easy, because all the work, all the control is inside, so it's not visible. So it looks like it's easy. I know it's not. I'm doing it, but it looks like it is. Check that you're not pushing into your head or your shoulders. You're stretching your spine out for balance. It's called lengthening the spine. It will help you balance. Check your arms. You might even want to turn your hands over so you're not as likely to push with your arms and get that tension in the shoulders. If you do feel that your knees are too far away, just tilt the pelvis back slightly so the hips come a little bit closer to the ribs. It's not cheating, it's an adaptation for modern life because we tend to be tighter in the hip flexors than when old Joseph taught this. So the pelvic tilt might be needed. I find some days I need to tilt the pelvis, other days I don't. Okay, have a quick stretch out. Might be a bit tight in those hips, stretch the arms. Then we're going to take that into single leg kick. So the arm and legs are going to travel harder to stabilise that centre. So again, 2 levels. Level 1, bring one leg up to 90 degrees, knee fold position. Relax the shoulders and raise the opposite arm. So you're kind of half an upside down table. Squeeze the centre, push the foot into the wall in front of you, pull the arm back to the wall behind you. Keep this centre, keep all your balance points the same. Bring the arm and leg back in, put them down, raise the opposite ones. So it's going to challenge your concentration now because you've got to think about which arm and leg are moving, but you've also got to think about the stabilising bits of your body as well. So part of your brain is always going to be focused on where you're touching the floor and keeping it fixed. So it might just be that you need to slow down a bit. So try not to wobble from side to side as you transfer from right to left. Trying to keep the ribcage flat and the pelvis stable. Level 2, come to double knee fold. Again, slight pelvic tilt if you want. Both arms up. Move is the same, so it's still opposite arm and leg going out. But you've got to keep the other ones up at the same time. So you've got more to think about. Squeeze that centre, breathe from your ribcage. Don't hold your breath. Check your foot. Sometimes we get cramp in this move because we're so busy tightening everything, we don't realise we've clenched our toes as well. So relax the toes. Push through the sole of your foot might help rather than pointing your foot. Check the shoulders are squared up. Sometimes the shoulders go offline. Check that you haven't dropped too far forward, back or too far forward into that pelvis. Find that sweet spot where you're holding everything tight. Good. Can do one more. And then you're going to put your feet down and we're going to do some hip lifts. Feel nice after that one. Start with regular hip lifts, then I'll add the ab curl on for those appropriate. So heels about level just underneath the knee. Put your cushion between your knees if you want to. You don't want your cushion underneath your head for this one, so it can come out, go between your knees if you want, just to make you work the inner thigh muscles a bit more. Relax the shoulders, lift the hips up and down. Now remember this one, if your hips are a little bit tight, there's a tendency to slide along the mat. So put your feet down, put your shoulders down and keep them where they are. So you've got to stretch the hips out. If you slide along the floor, then these hips aren't getting enough stretch. Squeeze your buttocks, remember your 10-pound note. Keep the knees lined up. You might need to do a little bit of work with the inner thigh muscles to stop the knees drifting apart. And if you are quite tight in the hips, if you've been doing a lot of gardening or walking, you might find that these hips are quite tight, so it takes a few lifts to get up to your full bridge. So your weight is grounded into your shoulders and your feet. And then you can add the ab curl on if it's appropriate. Remember, an ab curl, not for osteoporosis, not for slip discs. If you are pregnant, you can do a little ab curl, but only a little one because you want to squeeze in. So it's just like you're kind of just trying to see over your belly, which will get harder. So up to your bridge, but you can stay with the bridge and not do the ab curl if you don't want to. If you otherwise come up to your bridge, put your bum down, Squeeze the centre, squeeze ribs to hips and curl the shoulders off the floor. Keep a gap under the chin. Keep this flat. Roll the spine back to the floor. You might need to reset. Sometimes we go forward a bit. Up with the hips. Down with the hips. Over with the shoulders. I wish you could see Benny now. He's now roaching. As those of you who haven't got a greyhound, means he's basically lying like that. Up with the hips. Down with the hips, curl over. Took a photograph of him roaching yesterday. I think I'll add it on the WhatsApp. When I send you the class, I'll send you a photo of Benny roaching. I'm not here for your entertainment, you know. One more of these. Good. Right, now I'm going to get you to do a bit of work around the middle. So we're going to do supine twist, which I know we've already done, and then I'm going to add on to it. So do as much again as suits you. Arms out to the side for balance, knees and feet together. I'm going to twist, just like we did in the warm-up. You might find it's a bit easier now because your body's worked a little bit more, blood's flowing around a bit more, brain's switched on, so you might actually find you get a little bit more of a twist now. So you can stay with this. This is the feet on the floor version, so it's predominantly about building up flexibility around the centre. Remember, any pregnant ladies doing this class, your flexibility is going to have improved. You're going to be more bendy. So don't overdo it. Go to where you used to go before. Some of you are already very bendy anyway, so don't go further than that. Just need to make sure these ligaments are going to be stable to support you after. So stay with this, or come to double knee fold, and you bring your knees in a bit closer than the double knee fold. And then you rock from side to side. So you go from one hip to the other. Your shoulders stay flat to the floor. And you squeeze that centre like your belt's gone in around the middle, supporting you. It's not about getting the knees a long way over, it's about stopping where you can hold your weight. So as my knees have gone over to the left here, my right shoulder is down on the floor and can stay there. That's as far as I go. Come back to centre, same other way. So it's about finding that stability. Try not to use your arm too much. So I'd like to do now, if you can, come back to centre and fold your arms across your chest. Then do it. Relax the shoulders, don't forget to breathe. Squeeze that waist in. If you're feeling this in your lower back, bring your knees closer in. Or go back to your feet on the floor. Stay with this, or if you want to make the move more difficult, you have the legs straighter. Remember, they're going to be heavier, harder to move. So it's kind of like a pendulum. Shoulders relaxed and down. So it's only the hips where you're going from one to the other, not the shoulders. And again, stay with this. Yes, there is more. Or you can make me a figure of 8. So you just draw in 8s. Pulling. To bring the bottom half of your 8, you bring the ribs, hips to ribs. Squeeze those lower abdominal muscles. Legs don't have to be completely straight, we've just made them heavier. Don't swing through the legs, control it. Draw that 8. Relax the neck and shoulders. To use these lower abs to pull the legs towards you, so you're getting a little reverse curl going on. You're welcome. Then put your feet down, have a quick stretch out, because we've got a few more hip lifts to do. So head flat to the floor. If you find hip lifts quite challenging and you want to go back to what we did before, that's good, because you're going to get better at it. Doing 2 goes at it, you're going to be better. So go back to what we did before. What I'm going to try and get you to do is 1 leg hip lift. So anybody with any pelvic instability, you might find it doesn't suit you. You need both feet down. So anybody gets a lot of sciatica on that one side, I would suggest just staying with both legs down. But otherwise, come up to your bridge, get your feet comfy, supporting you, squeeze your bum, squeeze that 10-pound note, and lift one foot off the floor. And then you're going to dip your bum to the floor, like you're just dipping in the water, and push back up again. Yes, the supporting leg is going to scream at you. If it's screaming too much, your foot might not be in the right position. If you've got your foot in too close or too far away, you're going to feel it a lot in the hamstring. Your heel needs to be underneath your knee. So you're using your bum muscles. Dip and lift. Dip and lift. Don't tip back. When you dip, you are lowering, keeping the pelvis square. You are using these leg muscles. I'm not going to do too many because it's quite tiring. So a couple more maybe. Squeeze that butt. Then onto the other leg. You're going to have one leg better than this and the other. So if you do feel a bit off balance on the one side, go back to stay on both feet on the floor. Otherwise, come up to your bridge. Take your foot off the floor, square your hips. You might need to readjust if that foot doesn't feel like it's supporting you. And then dip and lift. Really grind down through this foot. So it needs to be in the right position. If it's too close, too far away, hamstrings will overwork. We need the bum muscles to do it. No saggy butts in my class, thank you very much. Come on, squeeze. One more. Good. Bring the knees into the chest, get a nice stretch. Cool. Then we're going to do some sitting up work. So hands underneath you, roll yourself up. Bit of sitting. Grab a drink on your way. Okay, now, if the seated work doesn't suit you, if you find it puts too much pressure in your back, kneel. Come up onto your knees, come over onto your hands and knees, stand up. Don't just struggle through a position because Sharon says this is what we're supposed to do. You put a lot of pressure in your lower back when you're sitting, especially sitting on a hard floor. If it doesn't suit you, don't do it. Right, so otherwise sit on your block if you want to. Find a position that suits you, so you won't want your knees bent. I quite like crossing my ankles. Some people like to go into a full cross position. Some like them straight, so a little bit of experimenting really. Sit up nice and straight. To start, we're going to put one hand behind us and we're going to rotate into that direction. We're just stretching these abdominals again. Coming back, same the way. Keep the chest up and the shoulders down. Give you a nice stretch around the middle. If you feel it in the back of your hip, you might be pulling on the other leg without realising it as you turn around. Use the hand behind you, grind down through your fingers or the palm of your hand and reach up through your head. Now I'm going to add a forward rotation and a little bit of stretching for the legs. So what I'd like you to do is have your feet a little bit wider. If you're sat on a block or a cushion, keep the knees bent throughout. I don't want your knees bending the wrong way. So we're going to start with the knees quite bent, up nice and straight. Put our arms in our box and we're going to rotate towards the right leg. Then we're going to keep in the back straight, bring the chest towards the knee a little way. Come up, back to centre. Same the other way, so we're going to rotate towards the left. So we're basically squaring the centre of our chest with our knee. Then we're going to let the body come forward a little way. Keep your hips square to the floor. So rotate and forward. And you're just getting a little bit of work. Hopefully you can feel it on the inside of the thighs. Keep your pelvis square. What your pelvis will want to do is push over onto one side. We don't want that. So keeping your chest lifted as much as you can. There's a harder version. There's always a flipping harder version, isn't there? For that, you take your arms out to the side. You rotate. And as you line your centre of your chest with the centre of your knee and you start to come forward, the other arm comes forward towards the foot. As if you're trying to slice your foot. And then you come back, same other side. You might find you're actually easier with your legs straighter now. So you rotate, let the body, so you're squaring up, and then you bring your arm across. Come back to centre. You're going to feel your legs working hard now. So twist, line up with the centre and with the leg. Lean forward slightly, bring the hand across. Don't worry if you don't touch your foot. You can cheat a bit by bringing your toes towards your hand. Try not to round the spine in order to get to that foot. Chest is out. So it's going to really work on the inside of these legs. We'll do one more. And then you're going to rest. Good one. Bit of chest stretching. So hands behind you. Turn them whichever way suits you. Any issues with the wrist, you might find having your fingers facing you doesn't suit them. So turn your hand wherever suits you and pull your shoulder blades together. And release. Pulling back so the chest pushes forward. If you're feeling it in the wrists, check that you're not actually pushing yourself forward. You're not bringing your torso forward. You're pulling your shoulders back. You might find if you are quite tight in these shoulders that you need to do this sitting up and your hands on your hips instead. If you are okay with this move, then you take your hands a little bit further back, not enough to put pressure on the rotator cuff, but just to increase the stretch. And then you have your fingers facing it. Shoulders back, shoulders slide down your back and your ribcage lifts up. And you're going to feel that in your arms as well. It stretches the rotator. Lift the torso. And relax. So you're really waking up the muscles across your back. So next time I send you a message saying get those shoulders back, you'll say they are back. Thank you very much. Get on with your own cycling, you. You've got enough to do. And then we've got a little bit of upside down table and plank to do. So if you find this move doesn't suit you, remember, stay with what we've done before. We've done a little bit of twisting, we've done a little bit of reaching, and we've done a little stretching. So repeat those if you want, or just sit and watch. Otherwise, we'll just start with the table, hands underneath the shoulders. Again, you might need to put your hands in a slightly different position just to support your shoulders, knees bent. Feet on the floor. Now pull the shoulders back, squeeze the butt and lift the hips off the floor. And as they start to go up, you pull your shoulders back, squeeze those lower abdominal muscles, squeeze the inner thighs and the butt. So you've made a table-ish. And back down. It's not an easy one, this one. If you find you end up in a scoop, press down into your feet a little bit more, pull your shoulders back. Even if you don't go up any higher, there's no point trying to come up in a bench shape. You've just flexed your back a lot. So you pull your shoulders back, press into your feet, root down through your feet, squeeze the abdominals. Yes, you're going to feel it in the arms. Yes, you're going to feel it in the back of the legs. Squeeze and lift. Suck those lower abdominals up, zip up. Press into your hands. Okay, that's your first option. Stay with that or move on to plank. Horses for courses. Some people say one's easier, one's harder. It depends on you really. Pull the shoulders back, one leg bent. Press down through the bent leg to lift you up. Pull the shoulders back. You really use this supporting leg. And down and change legs. So pull the shoulders back, lift. Ground down through the hands. Changing sides. You're going to feel this in your shoulders. Check that you haven't slid forward though. If your hips are a long way forward of your hands, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure in those shoulders. So quite close to your bum for this one. And then you can do full plank if you want to. You can do it from the half one. So if you come up to half plank, push down into your hands and this straight leg, push down into your heel a little bit and then you can straighten the other leg. Stay there for a few seconds, and back down. And start, so it's up to you, you can start it from both legs straight, go up that way, if that suits you, or you can use your other leg to help you. So if you can do that, start with your leg bent, pull your shoulders back, lift your heart, squeeze the butt, grind down through the bent leg and lift. Bit more pressure through the straight leg, through the heel, and then straighten. Stretch through the front of that body, grind down through those hands. And then sit forward, and that's the best bit. It's the only reason I do that one, because that you really appreciate that sitting forward. Stretches into these arms. Right, bit of kneeling work, bit of cat and cow work now. So up onto your knees. Remember, if you don't like being on your knees, on your hands and knees like this, you can stay sitting and do me some beetle and angel if you want to, if you prefer that. Otherwise, up onto your hands and knees. Pad out underneath the knees or the hands if you want to, give them a bit more support, and we'll do our cat and cow. So get yourself in a nice supported table position. Tighten the abdominals, pull the pelvis, so you're tilting the pelvis back, tucking your bum under, rounding the spine, pushing down through the hands, relaxing the neck. Level out back to neutral. Let your abdominals go heavy, and that tilts your pelvis forward, sticks your bum in the air. Pull the shoulders back. Slide your shoulders down your back. If you press down through your hands and pull back with your hands, that might help you, pushing your chest forward. And then level up. Tuck under. Push down through your hands. Tuck your tailbone under. Level out. Let your belly go heavy. It's almost like a hammock feeling as your tailbone goes up, and then you slide your shoulders back and down. Press down and pull back with your hands and push your chest forward. Most of us find this the difficult move because we're just used to our backs being rounded a lot, so to pull back into this position can feel quite challenging. If it really doesn't suit you, and you've got the option of coming up onto your knees or sitting down and doing the chest stretch we've just done. I would say there's more than one way to swing. I've even forgot to say now. Anyway, just get on. Then we'll add the knee hovers on. So round your back, straighten it, hollow it, straighten it again, tuck your toes, press down through your hands, squeeze the centre and hover your knees about an inch off the floor. Not too high, we want to feel the weight across the shoulders. Put the knees down, relax the feet, back into your cat and cow, whichever way you fancy. You might want to start with the stretch, the extension, it's up to you. But I want you to be able to have some strength when you're neutral. So you do your two extremes, rounding your back and arching your back, and then you bring it to neutral and you have the strength to hold it in neutral without your knees on the floor. One more of these. Then we're going to do a bit of swimming. We're going to do it on the hands and knees because it's more challenging. But I'm going to, as promised, I'm going to show you the easier versions first. So if you find being on your hands and knees for this move doesn't suit you, you come down onto your front, have your arms extended, relax your shoulders. Now you squeeze your belly tight and you put a little bit of tension in your legs. So you squeeze your leg muscles a little bit. And then you lift opposite hand and foot slightly off the floor, not a long way. And I want you to try to press as little into the mat as you can. So you don't want an imprint of your belly to show through your mat on the other side here. It's embarrassing, it's embarrassing. Suck it up. So that's your option if you prefer to lie down. If you're happy up on your hands and knees, set your table, hands under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Squeeze this centre up. Imagine somebody looking at you from underneath. Oh no, it's put me right off. Right, now press down through your hands. Press down in particular through your right hand because you're going to slide your right foot back. Don't press on it, it'll cramp. But you want to keep your weight on this right side. Relax your shoulders, square your hips up if they've gone a bit offline. Take the weight off your left hand and slide it forward. Pull the shoulder back and down though. Don't let the shoulder drop forward. Now squeeze that centre. Imagine somebody looking at you from underneath. Use your bum muscles to lift the leg and your back to lift your arm. Press down through this right hand. Squeeze your right bum. Pull that right hip down if it feels like it's rotated out. Put your hand and foot down. Slide them back in. Have a breather. Readjust. It's a tough move. Same on the other side. So press down a little bit into your hands. In particular, press down into your left hand to allow you to slide your left foot back. Square your hips. Take the weight off your right hand and slide it forward. Pull the shoulder back and down to square it up. Centre squeezed. Bum muscles tight to lift the leg. Shoulders sliding back to lift the arm. Push down through your left arm. Mine's shaking today. Get it stronger. Back down. Back in. Have a rest. Same again. So, going to do the right leg, which means we have to grind down through the right hand to slide the right foot back. Square the hips. Take the weight off the left hand and move it forward. Pull the shoulder back and down. Square it up. Squeeze the butt. Lift the right leg. Lift the left arm. Push down through this right arm. Lengthen through the spine from the top of your head to the tip of your tailbone. Back down. Square up. Same again. Last one. Press down through your hands, in particular left hand, left leg back. Square the hips. Right hand forward, shoulder pulls back and down. Centre tight. Lift the arm and leg. Lengthen through your spine. Check those shoulders, check those hips. Are they lined up? Maybe a little bit more squeeze of your bum, might lift your leg a bit higher. Use these glutes. Push down through this left arm. Down. And have a sit back into child's pose. Well done. Then we're going to come forward and back. So nice stretch into child's pose. Come up, bring your hands a bit further forward into 3/4 plank. Push down through both hands, squeeze the bust, chest, keep that body lifted away from the floor. None of this sagging. Push down through the hands. Come up when you're ready, sit back. You can bring your hands with you or leave them where they are. Depends on how much stretch you fancy. Come forward, and as you start to feel your weight come into your hands, push down into your arms, squeezing those abs. So you feel that you're holding that body up there. Hold it for a few seconds. Remember to breathe through your ribs. Sit up and sit back. Now, if this is the right amount of work for you, hey, there's Benny. Stay with this. If you're not totally distracted now. But if you want the full version, come to your 3/4 plank, tuck your toes, straighten your right leg, push down through your hands, straighten your left leg, push your hips up to the ceiling, don't worry about your feet, I want you to push up through your tailbone, push down through your arms, and come back to full plank. Don't drop, push the floor away, lengthen the spine. Push up through your hips. Bringing your chest towards your thighs. Back to plank. I'm going to stay on the knee version if it suits you better, or go back to it if you're getting tired or a bit hot. Push up through the hips. Straighten out. I'm going to do one more. Push down, don't drop into your joints. And put your knees down. Bit of threading the needle now to get your breath back. If you don't like threading a needle, you can do chest opener, lying on your side if you want to, or you can sit down and do a bit of mermaid if you prefer. But I'm going to show you chest opener. You've done it with me before, so see how you go. So you can turn your right hand over, palm facing up, and you're going to slide it past your left wrist, bending your left arm as you do. You might get your head to the floor, but if that makes you feel a bit dizzy, don't worry, you don't have to go that low. Reaching through, so the rotation of that torso. Come back, and then reach it up to the ceiling. Pulling the shoulder back and down. And then back, same on the other side. So you slide it away from you, curl under. So this is stretching across your back and into your hip, and then you come up and you pull your shoulder back and reach up. Very good if you're round shouldered. You're going to find it difficult, so don't worry if you don't lift very far, but what I want you to think about is pulling the shoulder blades together rather than groping up with your arm. So if you do struggle with the reaching up, take the arm up, even if it doesn't go very far, pull the shoulder back so you're presenting your chest to the side. Sometimes people try and just get the arm up and that's not really doing anything. So you're going from side to side. So you're presenting your chest. Oh, I don't think I want to pretend to present my chest. Right, then we'll lie down on the front. How are we doing for time? Alright, so lying down on your front, arms down by your sides, and we're going to work into these shoulders a bit more. So to start with, you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together and release them. But abdominals, so pull your belly button to spine, squeeze your butt slightly, a little bit of work through the front of the legs. Good, squeeze. And you can stay with this. If you've got quite tight shoulders, or you're a bit round shouldered, this might be tough anyway. So you might need a block under your forehead, or you might find that you need to do this move from up here. You might find lying down just doesn't suit you. So up onto your knees is fine, but otherwise, pull back. A little bit harder version is to bend the elbows, keep the chest square to the foot and lift the arm. And again, you're trying to bring that shoulder blade in. As best you can, square your hand up. Sometimes people push the elbow up, but we want the forearm about level to the floor. Suck your belly in, squeeze your butt, and tense the thigh muscles a little bit. Extra stability to hold you on that floor. And then if you want, you can do both together. And you can give a little squeeze in towards the ribs. And down. So you start with the elbows about level with the shoulders. Squeeze the centre. Lift your arms to about shoulder level and then pull the elbows in. You might find that you actually lift your torso slightly. It's good one to get the back working. And down. Don't forget to breathe. What I would do is breathe in when you're flat and breathe out when you come up. It's hard to breathe in when you're up here. Just squeeze. And down. One more. Lift the elbows. Squeeze the centre, breathe in, and as you breathe out, squeeze the elbows in. And good. Have a quick sit into child's pose after that, it's quite nice. Bring your big toes together, your knees apart, and sit back. You can fold your arms if you prefer to put your head on. Let the hips go quite heavy on this one, just to release the pressure from the lower back. If it doesn't suit you, then you sit up and you sit forward that way. Just so that you're just getting to release that pressure in the lower back. And then we'll do a nice bit of swan dive, back extension to finish. So onto your front again, elbows underneath the shoulder. I'm just going to get you to pull your shoulders back. Tense your thigh muscles a little bit to support the pelvis. And think about lifting your heart, lifting your torso, again presenting the chest. And you can stay here, or put your palms down on the floor, maybe a little bit further forward to start with, and lift yourself a bit higher so your arms straighten. Squeezing the butt. Tensing the legs helps. So you're trying to, it's almost like you're trying to lift your knees away from the floor by tensing your thighs. And if that feels alright, then you bring your hands a little bit closer. Squeeze the butt. Very good this for anybody who gets sciatica or have been doing more sitting and finding they're getting a lot of tension in the lower back. Squeeze those thigh muscles. It's like you're trying to lift your knees away from the floor. They might not come up, but you're trying to tense the legs and the bum just to help you keep up there. Back down. We do one more. Stay low if it suits you better. Remember, don't fight your body, because all it'll do is next time you say, I'm going to do Pilates, your body goes, no, you're not. I'll go back to bed. Stuff off. Slide your shoulders down your back. You might be able to lift your heart a little bit higher. Alright, up onto your hands and knees. A little bit of moving around. I'm going to do a sneaky little bit of wrist and footwork here. So if you tuck your toes, I've hurt my foot, so my foot doesn't bend very well. Oh dear, it's very traumatic being me. But you'll probably be able to bend your feet better than me. But you're just rocking your weight forward and back, onto your toes, onto your hands. It's a good little stretch for the quads as well. Sitting back, coming forward. You can do a bit more wrist stretch if you want to by turning your hands round. Be careful how far you move because it's a big stretch. You turn your hands around and then you just gently rock. And you'll feel that stretch in your forearms. Flatten your fingers, press down through your fingers. Stretch for the wrists. And then waggle your hands around because they'll need it. Up to standing. Right, once you're up, sort your hair out because it's gone mad. A little bit of work on the balance. And remember, if you're on carpet, your balance is always a little bit more difficult because it's softer under your feet. Your balance is always better on a hard surface. So just give yourself a little bit more time. You might have to be a little bit more careful with your balance. And all I want you to do is just to rock forward and back. You might not actually lift off the floor at all, but the weight is going into the front of your legs and then into the back. I always fall over at that point. Rocking forward and back. See, I can do it until I talk about doing it and I can't do it anymore. Get the shins working. Again, you might come up higher than me today. I've got a foot injury. I got a foot injury eating a punch bag. I don't know either. Well, I did. So all we're going to feel is that the front leg muscles are switching on and the abdominals are pulling in. And then we sit back on the heels. We're pulling the toes up. Then a bit of squatting. So arms out in front. You're going to reach your hands forward as you move your hips back. Remember, public toilets. We're going to keep the door shut because the lock's broken. And we've got to hover over the toilet because we don't want to sit. Classy. And then pull up. So we keep the door pushed shut. We sit back. Use your little toes and your big toes. Press down through your feet. Keep your knees apart. You don't want your knees rolling inwards in a squat. That is not good for the inside of those knees. Push into the feet, keep the knees out. Sit down. Relax the shoulders. Reach with the fingers. Sit a little bit lower if you can. That will stretch your back. You'll feel your legs moaning. Good. Sit those hips down. Check you haven't dropped your shoulders forward. So you're presenting your chest, sliding your shoulders down, pushing your arms forward. Good. One more, sit down. Good for building up bone in the hips, remember, as well as mobility. Sit. I'll have you at Cruft soon. And then pull yourself up. Good, a little bit of stretch for the sides to finish. So roll the shoulder. Roll it round. Lift and roll. Let your spine go with it. A little bit of rotation through the front of that hip. You can stay low, like this. Otherwise, if you are going to lift, check your light fittings that you're not going to take any light bulbs out, and then do a nice big arm circle. You might want your feet a little bit wider for balance. Reaching. Same on the other side. Start with a shoulder roll. Abdominals pulled in enough to support you. Head reaching up for the ceiling. Go into an arm circle if you want to. Give yourself a nice big hug. Breathe into your back. And open out. Don't fling, open out. Squeeze back. Wind your neck in a little bit. Give yourself a big hug. You can bend your knees as well if you want to, just to release all that tension in the spine. And then stand up and open out. Wind your neck in a little bit. Sometimes the head drops forward. So wind that head in, keep it over your shoulders. Push your chest out, squeeze your bum a little bit. So we're going to a bit of a back extension. Round and stretch. And then to finish, properly finish, I promise. Stand up straight, tailbone points down between the feet, abdominals pulled up. Stack your spine, even up your shoulders, raise your arms. Square up, press down through your feet, float up through your head. Squeeze that centre. Check both feet are working, your spine is stacked, your hips and shoulders are square, your head's between your arms, your chest is proud. And bring your arms down. Job done, well done. Enjoy the rest of the week. It's Tuesday, I think. Enjoy the week, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.